Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, it is the biggest sports retailer in the UK with soaring profits to match. But an undercover report by this programme reveals the shocking truth behind the success of JD Sports. At their central warehouse in Rochdale, we found JD staff boasting of sacking people at will just for sitting down. And a 3 strikes and you're out policy, penalising everything from wearing the wrong kind of underwear to chewing gum. JD Sports denies such practices, but see for yourself with this special report from our North of England correspondent, Kieran Jenkins.
It's one of the biggest names on the high street, making record profits, doing brisk business in the run-up to Christmas. JD Sports sells high-end sportswear brands at premium prices. Last year's turnover, £1.8 billion. Tonight, we reveal the reality behind JD Sports' stunning success.
No, it's more work. Prisoners get more fucking respect.
An army of hundreds of minimum wage workers pushed to their limit. Continually fearing the sack.
Especially people sitting down. You sack people sitting down? Yeah.
Working like machines.
The fight's been kicked out of them. They don't think anybody's on their side. I think they're treated like scum.
One of Theresa May's first promises as Prime Minister was to improve conditions for working people. She might do well to start right here. On a business park in Rochdale, this is the vast warehouse at the heart of JD Sports' operation. If you shopped at JD Sports this Christmas, chances are it passed through here. We've spent 5 weeks undercover.
Access denied.
Our reporter has a job through Assist Recruitment, an employment agency. There are 1,500 people working here, hundreds of agency workers, alongside staff employed directly by JD Sports. The company calls this place a first-rate facility. Workers have called it a prison. They must scan their fingerprints when they arrive, and again when they leave. And each side of closely monitored break times. Our reporter is on 12-hour shifts, 6 to 6. Every worker has a target, everyone's performance is on display. Assist agency workers answer to JD Sports supervisors. Bosses who bark at them to work harder.
I want to see your arms moving! Can't be
The work is relentless. So is the music on loop over the tannoy. And you dare not step out of line. JD Sports staff enforce strict discipline by issuing strikes. 3 strikes and you could be fired.
What do you have to do to get your 3 strikes? Anything. You can do anything. You can be late, you can take an unauthorised absence.
JD Sports tell us they do not operate a strike system. What then is happening here?
What's a strike? Because some people think you get a strike.
You get strikes, you get 3 strikes, you get sacked.
What are the 3 strikes?
Chewing gum, matches, lighters, mobile phones.
It seems you can lose your job over almost anything.
Hoodies, incorrect uniform, anything with a logo on the front of it, anything with a designer label on it, even your watch. So like I'm looking at your watch while I'm talking to you. So if that was a designer watch, I'd give you a warning. that's another warning.
Right.
There's loads of things you're not allowed to wear or do.
Wrong attitude, strike. Chocolate, anything that could cause damage may be a strike. Phones, lighters, hoodies, headphones breach health and safety and could be a strike. All you're allowed are a few essentials in a clear plastic bag. And no branded clothing because you might have stolen it. Trust has broken down. Everyone's a suspected thief, searched repeatedly.
Pocket check, please, young lady.
Okay.
Got any pockets there?
No.
No?
JD Sports says only 1 in 10 staff are randomly searched. On shift, in the warehouse, security say this.
Everybody gets done, everybody. We have to do everybody in a day.
JD Sports say their security measures are normal common sense precautions and their disciplinary policy is normal too. They say it's a staged process from informal conversations to written warnings and can be appealed. The regime here seems to make JD supervisors and team leaders all powerful. So powerful, some boast of sacking workers at will. Our reporter is on her feet 11 hours a day. She asks to sit down. This is what she's told.
Well, if you get tired, I would like to sit on a box and carry on.
No sitting down, no.
Yeah.
You get fired.
Fired?
I sacked people for sitting down.
You sack people for sitting down?
Yeah. Because why should you sit down there doing your job when she's sweating on that station doing her job? In comparison to what they're doing, you've got a really easy job. Right, so you shouldn't have to sit down.
In cases of serious misconduct, JD Sports says there's a thorough investigation and workers are never sacked on the spot. JD Sports insist they're not like other retailers under scrutiny recently. Who could they have in mind? Sports Direct, JD's main rival, has been engulfed by a scandal over working conditions.
Really? No, this doesn't happen like this.
Sports Direct operating profits have plunged 57%, while JD profits are up 63%. Consider that JD Sports should have been well aware of the Sports Direct scandal, that their brand has soared recently as Sports Direct has faltered. And then consider that conditions here, right at the heart of JD Sports, may have been a lot like Sports Direct all along.
I'm disgusted. I think it's draconian.
We showed our footage to this man, the MP who led the parliamentary inquiry into Sports Direct.
Strikes, you get 3 strikes, you get sacked.
You were outraged by the 6-strike policy at Sports Direct. This is 3 strikes at JD Sports.
Well, this is twice as bad. It's twice as bad as what we found at Sports Direct. It's as simple as that.
Should workers just be fired just like that?
Well, it's a matter of coercion and control. It's a matter of power, this. It's a case of know your place, because I can get rid of you like that.
At 5:30 p.m. in Rochdale, they file in to work through the night. Who knows how many agency workers, like our reporter, weren't even given a contract. She asked for one. It said she could be let go anytime. 0 hours, 0 job security. You can turn up for work, they can turn you away.
Some people send
Assistant There's no work. So if you know we're here, they will listen to you.
Really?
People come from, like yourself, Manchester. They come in and they say there's no work, go back home.
That's JD as well as...
Well, JD don't get set.
The prospect of regular work is dangled before them. The chance of a permanent job with JD Sports, starting at 10p above minimum wage. But they know they're being watched.
Cameras everywhere, yeah.
JD Sports tell us workers aren't punished if they miss targets, called Key Performance Indicators, KPIs. Our reporter is told it could earn her a strike and cost her a permanent job.
Usually a strike. Basically, if you can't hit the KPI, then you're no good for the company because you're not producing what the company requires of you. Essentially, that's the issue.
Our reporter is on relabelling duties. It's robotic work. Every hour, the same target. If they log more work 1 hour and less the next, but still meet the target, for this supervisor, that's unacceptable.
Find anybody doing that, look for warning. Okay? Some do in the past, I found people doing it, and that's what happened to them. Because it is actually fraud.
These workers, low paid, exhausted, didn't miss the target. They just spread out the work. For that, they really are being accused of fraud.
Say that is fraud, and you will be disciplinary action.
The culture here appears to be the relentless pursuit of profit. But workers aren't just being pushed to their limit. We've uncovered evidence suggesting some are effectively being paid less than the minimum wage. Just look at these queues to leave the building. After working 12 hours,
So bad.
you wait and wait.
Take your visits off, please. Take your high visits off as well, please.
Airport-style security,
Some people, they don't like to
airport-style delays.
What do you want? Yeah. Just the normal.
Just do that, please.
JD Sports told us it's made changes, that queuing time is paid. This footage is from the last fortnight. It would take up to 15 minutes to get out. An agency manager says categorically, queuing time unpaid.
We don't get paid for queuing time, do we? Okay then.
Out in the cold, you queue to get in unpaid.
But we're going to get late now. We can't get late.
JD Sports says there aren't long queues.
Make us late. Make us cold.
The agency advises our worker to arrive earlier. And if the queue makes you late,
even if it's 1 minute, like you can see here.
Yeah.
JD Sports, who dish out the permanent jobs, may hold it against you.
All this here, lateness, it goes against you.
So they give up their time for nothing, earning less effectively than the minimum wage.
I find that so depressing.
Are these workers exploited?
I think they're treated like scum. I think what you see is that, you're not allowed to sit down. I can produce a strike as a supervisor to you as a worker on any whim that I want. I can get rid of you at a moment's notice. And actually, I don't pay for you to come in early during a shift, and I certainly don't pay for you to when you have to go late at the end of a shift. I'm just treating you like cattle. You're a commodity that helps me make more money, and I think that's disgraceful.
JD Sports and Assist Recruitment say they believe a large number of our allegations are untrue. They say if they prove to be accurate, they're willing to investigate. Their employees' welfare, they say, is their utmost priority. But in Rochdale, just listen to where this woman would rather work.
I've interviewed with sports directors,
Mass employment, 21st century style. A politician would say they're just about managing. A worker might tell you they've had just about enough.
And that special report by Kieran Jenkins. Now, if you work at JD Sports and would like to tell us your experiences, you can get in touch by emailing us at c4investigations@itn.co.uk. Now, with me now is the Labour MP Ian Wright, the chair of the Business Select Committee, who you just saw in that film, and the Conservative MP Chris Philp, who is a member of the Treasury Select Committee. Welcome to you both. Chris Philp, let me start with you. These are Ian Wright's words, treated like scum. You saw the film, what's your reaction?
Well, I agree with Ian. What we saw on that film there, workers being treated appallingly, is disgraceful, and that should not happen in a civilised 21st century country. It's absolutely appalling. It's happening today.
So what will you do about it?
Well, I think we need to tighten up the law, to be honest, in areas around zero-hour contracts. It's been tightened up a bit already. So, for example, it used to be the case until last year that workers could be forced to do no work other than for the zero-hour employer, even when that zero-hour employer had no work to give them. That's been scrapped, and that's good. But things like counting waiting time for security or not counting waiting time for security towards your working hours is clearly wrong. That should be outlawed straight away.
You agree, presumably. But would you also call for an investigation into JD Sports, as you did with Sports Direct?
Absolutely, and we're looking into this in the Select Committee in terms of future world of work. What does work look like in Britain in the 21st century? This looks depressingly familiar. It looks like what happened with Sports Direct. And if you're working in a warehouse in Britain in 2016, you're going to be treated like scum.
But specifically, you want to see JD Sports hauled in front of the Commons as well?
Yes, but there's a long list there as well, to be honest.
Would you agree with that? Would you like to see them in the Commons?
I think JD Sports should be in front of Ian's committee at the first opportunity to answer to Parliament, to Ian and his colleagues, for what we saw on that film. That should happen as a matter of urgency. And I'm sure, and the government, by the way, is reviewing this area, and I think it would be helpful if Ian's committee made some suggestions to government in this area.
OK, Ian, I mean, you described it very dramatically, treated like scum, but they weren't forced to take those jobs. I mean, they volunteered to work in these places, and a lot of them, despite the appalling conditions, want to carry on and work full-time.
I don't agree with that, actually. The idea that, you should be lucky that you've got a job. You can walk away at any moment in time. Some people on low or no skills don't have that opportunity. It's a case of they're trying to get any single type of employment that they can. And if you're, on precarious work, you don't have any security when it comes to the next week's wages. That's what the reality of Britain is in 2016 for a large number of people.
But the new reality of today's online shopping economy, digital economy, is that a lot of people actually quite like zero-hours contracts. They like the flexibility, not necessarily these conditions, but they do like the flexibility that comes with those contracts. And that is the way the economy now works, whether it's Uber or Amazon, JD Sports, Sports Direct, we're increasingly in that kind of reality.
That gig economy, that on-demand economy, does provide to some workers that flexibility, but not if you're at the lower end of it. And when you see, warehouse staff, when you see sometimes in terms of drivers, they're seen as self-employed or on zero-hours contracts, they don't have flexibility. They're suffering from exploitation and abuse.
I think we should also, what we saw in that video was terrible and we should stop it from happening, but we should also just be aware of the wider context. Only 3% of the UK workforce are on zero-hour contracts. They work on average...
growing by 20% in the last year. I mean, that number's going up.
It has gone up, but it's 3% of the total. And I think what is important is the minimum wage increase. We've seen a 15% increase in the minimum wage in the time I've been in Parliament. It's going to go up even further. And that is critical. That massive minimum wage increase is critical to helping people who are struggling. But what we saw on that film is unacceptable in any circumstances.
The TU says that on the average worker who's on a normal contract gets £11.05 an hour. The average worker on a zero-hours contract gets £4 less than that. That's a huge difference.
The minimum wage. That's right. Well, the minimum wage obviously is a minimum. Yeah. But that minimum of £7, it was
but you're not going to be paid much more if you're on a zero-hours contract.
Well, it was £6.50 when I was elected. It's now £7.20. It's going up to £9 an hour by 2020, higher even than Ed Miliband suggested at the last election. And the ONS published figures last month showing that for the poorest people in society, in the last year, their income's gone up by 6%. And I'm proud it's a Conservative government that has legislated that minimum wage increase. But there is clearly some change required to regulate what we saw in that film, and I hope that's going to come.
You've got minimum wage, you've got the law on people's side, but many firms, we saw it at Sports Direct, there are hints of this in JD Sports, where they're not being paid the minimum wage because of things like security checks and stuff. They're not being enforced. And so surely, Chris, a big part of this is making sure that enforcement agencies have the resources and the powers to be able to step in and intervene.
I agree, and the enforcement budget has doubled year on year, but I suspect it may need to go further.
We're running out of time, but I've one other subject. We are facing a wave of strikes now. We've got Southern Rail, the talks are broken down with the employers. We've got the Royal Mail on strike, possibly a BA strike. I mean, this is a winter of discontent coming up, isn't it?
Well, I'm afraid to say that Jeremy Corbyn's hard-left union allies in ASLEF and the RMT are causing mayhem. I've met both of them, and I know what's happening on Southern Railway because it affects Croydon, which is the area
but
I
this
represent.
is about three big companies: Royal Mail, BA, and Southern Rail.
Let me tell you about the RMT. The dispute is over who presses the button that opens and closes the door. There are no job losses, there are no pay cuts, there is no safety issue. Yet 300,000 people every day, including today, are being inconvenienced. The RMT and ASLEF have gone way too far, and they should call it off straight away.
Short response from you.
I don't want anybody to be holding the economy and workers to ransom, but I think in terms of a good, dignified, decent economy, unions play a role in that. Unite, expose the failings at Sports Direct. JD Sports is not unionised. I do think we need to have trade unions as the positive force in British economy.
OK, got to leave it there. Run out of time. Ian Wright, Chris Hope, thanks very much indeed.